I was seconded across to the Ministry of Health from Khoo Teck Puat Hospital, where I worked as a doctor and a surgeon, the senior leadership in the hospital gave me a little memento, and it was a display case with 3 little teddy bears. And each teddy bear reflected a different aspect of my roles that I contributed to. I still have it at home. It reminds me of the different contributions I made in different settings. One of them was me dressed up in the scrub to reflect what I was as a doctor, as a surgeon. A second was me dressed up with a tie to reflect my role in administration and management. And I continue, of course, in the Ministry of Health, developing more of that role as well. But the third was me in a little toy soldier's uniform to reflect that I was also an active national serviceman and to reflect my contributions also in national service. And I thought that reflected very nicely the different areas that I journeyed in through my career. I learned through having to work in different settings, many important insights better prepared me for my role now in the Ministry of Health. The first was flexibility. And if you were working in different settings, you learn very quickly that resilience does not lie in being too fixated in one way of doing things. You have to learn to accept that there will be challenges that may or may not be within your comfort zone. There will be new areas, new challenges, new opportunities that you have to deal with. And you have to learn to grapple with it, accept that, and rise above the waters as you deal with these challenges that come. But that requires a certain flexibility of mindset, not to be too fixated by old ways of doing things, or to assume that the old ways of doing things are necessarily the only way of doing things. You learn also to be more willing to accept different opinions. And because you work with people of different backgrounds, you learn to embrace, recognize, and value their opinions as well. There were many things that I had to freely admit I was not master, nor was I necessarily the domain expert in. But when it came to many areas dealing with an infectious disease, an outbreak, an epidemic, pandemic, dealing with public health issues, there were many of my colleagues in the Ministry of Health who were more experienced in these areas. They were the experts. So I learned to appreciate the diversity of talent that we had and to learn to accept their opinion, to be more inclusive, to learn to recognize the wisdom that they had, and to embrace it and to allow them also to shine with the talents and their skill sets. I learned also the importance of being in the front as a representative of the healthcare profession, now having to engage the public. I took a lot of lessons from my fellow panelists who were much more experienced in the media game. But I learned that notwithstanding whatever their backgrounds were, whatever our roles were, there was the same principles of honesty, transparency, the willingness to reach out to listen, the willingness to engage, and the importance of building trust.